They called me worthless, invisible, a nobody. They mocked my dreams, laughed at my failures, and left me with nothing. 10 years later, I became a billionaire. And when I walked back into their lives, they never saw it coming. My name is Ava Collins, and this is my story. I grew up in a small town in Ohio, one of those places where everyone knows everyone, where gossip travels faster than the wind. My family wasn't poor, but we weren't rich either. My dad worked 2 jobs at the steel plant. My mom ran a tiny bakery out of our kitchen. From the outside, we looked ordinary, but inside, my world was anything but. I was the quiet kid, shy, awkward, bookish. I dreamed big, but no one ever believed in me. Not my teachers, not my so-called friends, and definitely not my family. "You're too naive, Ava," my cousin Claire would sneer. "People like us don't make it big." I ignored her, or at least I tried to. High school was where I learned what cruelty really looked like. I wasn't beautiful, like Claire. I wasn't popular. I wasn't rich. I was just there. And that made me an easy target. Every day, I walked into those crowded halls, clutching my books like a shield, praying no one would notice me. But they always did. "Hey, scholarship girl," someone would shout. "Don't trip on your dreams. Better start practicing flipping burgers now." I tried to tell myself words didn't matter, but they do. They get under your skin. They stay there. And then came the betrayal. My best friend, Emily, the one person I thought I could trust, leaked my personal diary to the entire school. Every secret, every dream, every fear, printed and passed around like a joke. I didn't eat for 3 days after that. That night, sitting on my bedroom floor, I made myself a promise. One day, I'll make them regret every single thing they've ever done to me. After graduation, I left that town and never looked back. I moved to New York City with $600 in my bank account, 2 suitcases, and nothing else. I waited tables during the day, worked night shifts at a bookstore, and spent every spare second teaching myself how to code. I failed, over and over. But every failure made me hungrier. I built prototypes, pitched investors, got rejected, built again. For 3 years, I lived on ramen and coffee, slept 4 hours a night, and worked myself to exhaustion. And then it happened. I created a small predictive analytics tool, something that could help companies understand customer behavior like never before. At first, no one cared. Then one investor took a chance. Then another. By 27, I'd launched VisionNet, a data intelligence platform. Within 2 years, it exploded, becoming the backbone of marketing strategies for Fortune 500 companies. By 30, I was a billionaire. And just when I thought I'd left my past behind, fate handed me an opportunity. I got an email one morning from a property broker in Ohio, Crestwood Mall foreclosure auction. Starting bid, $4 million. Crestwood Mall. The place where I'd worked my first job. The place where I'd been humiliated countless times. The place my old classmates still hung out, bragging about their lives. I bought it without a second thought. What I didn't know then was that Claire, my cousin, now owned a boutique inside the mall. So did Emily, my ex-best friend. And guess who Gesh Umal's anchor skimmer? Dylan Brooks, the same guy who used to call me Invisible Ava every day in high school. I didn't just buy the mall, I bought their entire world. I flew back to Ohio for the first time in 12 years. When I walked into the mall, it looked exactly the same. The same shiny tiles, the same stale coffee smell, the same ghosts of my past whispering through the air. I didn't tell anyone who I was. I walked the halls like a stranger, observing everything. Claire's boutique was barely surviving, Emily's wellness shop was drowning in debt, and Dylan's department store was one bad quarter away from bankruptcy. Perfect. I started making quiet changes, increased rent on underperforming stores, canceled outdated contracts, introduced digital advertising systems that none of them could afford. Within 6 months, half the mall's tenants were gone. The ones who remained were desperate. That's when I revealed myself. I called a meeting with all the mall tenants in the main atrium. They gathered around, whispering, confused, anxious. Claire sat in the front, arms crossed, glaring. Emily avoided my eyes. Dylan leaned against a pillar, pretending not to care. I stepped up to the mic. "Good afternoon, everyone," I began calmly. "My name is Ava Collins, and as of last year, I own Crestwood Mall." The silence was deafening. Claire blinked. Emily's jaw dropped. Dylan actually laughed. "You?" he scoffed. "What, did you win the lottery or something?" I smiled faintly. "No. I built something from nothing. Something you never believed I could do." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "And starting today, there are going to be changes." Over the next 3 months, I restructured everything. Claire's boutique lease tripled. Emily's wellness shop faced strict compliance audits she couldn't pass. Dylan's store lost its exclusivity rights, bleeding profits overnight. They tried to fight me. They failed. One night, I overheard Claire shouting on the phone outside her store. "She's ruining us. We need to do something before she destroys everything." I smiled in the shadows. It wasn't enough to take their businesses. I wanted them to feel it. So I dug deeper. Emily had been skimming funds from her investors. I sent the evidence anonymously to the IRS. Dylan had racked up gambling debts and was using store credit to cover them. I exposed him to corporate. Claire had forged tax documents to keep her boutique afloat. I handed them straight to federal auditors. Within 6 months, they lost everything. A year later, Crestwood Mall was thriving under my ownership, redesigned, modern, profitable. Emily declared bankruptcy. Dylan moved out of state. And Claire? She showed up at my office one day, her perfect hair messy, makeup smudged, hands trembling. "Ava, please," she begged, tears in her eyes. "I have nowhere else to go. I need help." I looked at her for a long moment, remembering every cruel word, every laugh, every betrayal. "No," I said softly. "You made your choices. Now live with them." She left without another word. I stood on the balcony of my penthouse that night, staring out at the city lights. They called me worthless, invisible, a nobody. But I became everything they said I couldn't. And the best part? I didn't just take back my life, I took theirs too. Because sometimes success is the sweetest revenge.